Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Algorithms of Armageddon, The Impact of Artificial Intelligence on Future Wars, by George Galdorisi and Sam J. Tangredi. Foreword by Robert O. Work. Narrated by Lyle Blaker. Foreword by Robert O. Work. Algorithmic warfare is warfare conducted through artificially intelligent means, where software superiority is the essential ingredient of military technical superiority. We are well on the way toward algorithmic warfare. The joint force has essentially become an all-digital force. Already we are beyond the point of incorporating artificial intelligence, AI, into the analysis of all source intelligence information, as a tool for planning, wargaming, and speeding human decision-making, and into weapons systems with some degree of autonomy. To some extent, algorithmic warfare has been thrust upon us whether we are ready or not. Technology is constantly changing and growing in power. At the same time, knowledge is constantly expanding. The aggressive authoritarian countries that are our potential opponents have caught up with our previous military advantages, characterized by the development of guided weapons and the battle networks that employ them with exquisite precision. Now they are working on developing their own military applications of AI, threatening U.S. military technical superiority. We have been here before. In the late 1940s and 1950s, Western Europe was threatened with invasion by powerful Soviet forces with a significant numerical advantage over North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO forces in the potential theater. The United States and NATO developed battlefield nuclear weapons to offset the Soviet advantages, in what is often referred to as the first offset. After the Soviet Union developed its own powerful nuclear capabilities in the 1960s and 1970s while expanding its conventional military advantage, the United States embarked on the second offset, the development of non-nuclear guided weapons that could strike Soviet forces with greater precision and effectiveness than ever before. Most fortunately, the Cold War ended without direct hostilities. However, the effectiveness of guided munition battle network warfare, what the Chinese call informatized warfare, was fully demonstrated in Operation Desert Storm, in which Kuwait was liberated and significant territory was seized in Iraq after just 42 days of intense air operations and 3 days of high-intensity ground combat. Operation Desert Storm spurred U.S. competitors to seek parity in this new way of war. Consequently, we now have the need for a third offset to neutralize the reconnaissance strike networks, guided weapons, and positional advantages of our potential opponents and preserve global deterrence. This third offset is built around AI-enabled autonomy, both at rest in intelligence, planning, and decision-making systems, and in motion on unmanned systems in every operating domain. Algorithmic warfare, which takes advantage of the technical inventiveness and creativity of America's defense innovation base, will define this third offset. Our current advantage originates in the lead of the United States and its allies in developing commercial applications of AI. It is the responsibility of the Department of Defense, DoD, to translate this commercial activity into a military advantage in a responsible manner. That was our objective during the time I served as Deputy Secretary of Defense. We knew algorithmic warfare was coming, and we needed to adapt if we wanted to preserve a global environment in which democracy and prosperity flourish. To those critically concerned about the future use of AI in military operations, DoD is trying mightily to pursue its application in a deliberate and safe manner. DoD is committed to using AI for the analyses of big data obtained by our intelligence networks and to utilize AI for human-machine teaming. In that effort, it has developed and promulgated principles for responsible AI. It has a policy on autonomy in weapon systems that preserves the use of human judgment over the use of force. That is why we have emphasized human-machine teaming in algorithmic warfare. During my service as co-chairman of the National Security Commission on Artificial Intelligence with Alphabet Google's former chief executive Eric Schmidt, I became even more aware of the capability of AI in transforming warfare and the alarming gap between the pace in which we are adopting applications of AI and the efforts of our potential opponents. We are clearly losing the initial technological advantage to which we have become accustomed. As Eric has publicly noted, we are not a decade ahead of our potential opponents as some have presumed. We are perhaps a couple of years ahead. but we will soon be behind if we do not increase the speed at which we develop our algorithmic warfare capabilities. Being behind is not a good position in maintaining deterrence. That is why I support every effort to bring public attention to this critical situation, and not just through official or academic reports. The last several years have witnessed almost a cottage industry of books on this subject, a few of which have discussed some aspects of the use of AI in military weapons systems. Most of these works fall into one of two categories: highly technical tomes targeted at a very small slice of policy and defense experts, or fictionalized accounts of future warfare where AI dominates the battlefield and humans are at best an afterthought. What has been missing are factual books that explain AI in a way that any interested person can absorb in order to understand its impact on American national security. Algorithms of Armageddon is such a book, and one produced by two experts in strategy and military technology. George Galdorisi and Sam J. Tangredi are national security professionals who have studied and dealt with AI in both the technical and policy arenas. They write clearly and convincingly. I participated in their previous collaborative book project, AI at War. That is not to say that I agree with every one of their conclusions, but I am in full agreement with their concern that the true danger is not one of AI controlling humans, but of humans using AI to control other humans. That is the concern that prompted their writing of the book. Like them, I don't want to see the United States ever controlled by the algorithmic capability of an opponent. This is a book that needs to be studied by all who want to understand the importance of AI in military strategy, operations, and tactics, and why it is vital for American citizens to not only understand these issues by discussing the policy, legal, and ethical considerations, but also to address them based on evidence and analysis rather than speculation. The book's ultimate objective is to advance this critical dialogue in a thoughtful and durable manner so that choices can be made and action taken. Algorithmic warfare is here, and the time for both discussion and action is now. Following his career as a decorated U.S. Marine Corps officer, the Honorable Robert O. Work served as the Undersecretary of the Navy from 2009 to 2013, and as the Deputy Secretary of Defense from 2014 to 2017. In the latter capacity, he was the chief architect of the Department of Defense's Defense Innovation Initiative and its third offset strategy, designed to increase investment in cutting-edge technologies for the U.S. military to achieve and sustain the Joint Forces' military technical superiority. From 2019 to 2021, he served as co-chair, alongside former Google Chief Executive Officer Eric Schmidt, of the National Security Commission on Artificial Intelligence. Introduction. The Ruler of the World. In 2017, 4 years before he invaded Ukraine for the second time, President Vladimir Putin decided to give the young people of Russia some advice about their future. Meeting with students in Yaroslavl, a historic city 160 miles northeast of Moscow, Putin stood calmly but with his characteristic stiffness, the cause of which remains unknown. Perhaps a serious illness, judo injuries, or, as one researcher speculates, a degree of autism. Another conjecture is that he was taught early in his career in the KGB, now called the FSB, Federal Security Service, the secret police that prop up all Russian dictatorships, to always keep his hand close to the place on his belt where a gun could be holstered. Putin may not have been carrying a gun. However, this act of political theater allowed him an opportunity to make a forecast about another potential weapon. Artificial intelligence, he intoned, is the future not only for Russia, but for all humankind. It comes with colossal opportunities, but also threats that are difficult to predict. He continued ominously, "Whoever becomes the leader in this sphere will become the ruler of the world." The prediction, the promises, and the threat. Putin's predictions may not always be seen as particularly accurate. His 2022 expectations of a quick march on Kiev, for example, were obviously wrong. Yet his view of artificial intelligence, AI, with the exception of the ruling the world rhetoric, is in accord with the perspectives of enthusiastic technologists, upbeat investors, and the more sober analysts. The first two groups can be seen as self-interested. Their careers and economic success are dependent on the intellectually stimulating and profitable development of new technologies. They behold the promises that AI can bring to the processes that drive our economy. Scientific and engineering careers are being built, and fortunes have already been made through the application of AI to business. Some postulate that AI will completely change the nature of work. The most optimistic think it will bring all people more leisure by freeing them from the labor required to obtain basic needs. However, a number in the third group, the analysts, have publicly advised prudence and caution in the assessment of the promises of AI. It may indeed revolutionize some of today's industries and create new ones, but the ultimate result of the widespread adoption of AI remains uncertain. It might make our lives easier, but not necessarily better. Lurking within the promises of AI and those who create it are the risks and threats of its perhaps very harmful uses. Some of these uses will be unanticipated, perhaps completely unexpected, and some will merely be unintended, the results of known risks that were deemed implausible or initially inconsequential. But others will be intended uses by those who are most likely to bring human repression and war. Even Tesla Corporation's founder, Elon Musk, whose company utilizes AI in its effort to build self-driving cars, dramatically maintains that AI poses a fundamental existential risk to the existence of civilization and needs proactive government regulation. As concerned analysts, we are in the third group. This book is not intended to be merely a frightening polemic, a speculation designed to scare you. If you are indeed scared after hearing the facts we will present, perhaps that is because you are prudently thoughtful. To some degree, we all should be a bit frightened of these unintended, and certain of the intended, usages of AI. Our purpose, however, is to provide a detailed and impartial picture of the current state and potential evolution of military applications of AI. All technologies inevitably find a use in war. These applications include their intended, unconsidered, and inevitable uses. The term evolution is used deliberately. In order to give you a thorough understanding of military AI, we will also discuss the history of AI in everyday civilian life. Following our conclusion, you can decide for yourself as to the group in which you fit. Power rules, and AI will help it. Whether justly or not, military force has historically been the decider of the fate of nations. Within the past 30 years alone, force has decided the conditions in Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Bosnia, former Yugoslavia, Chechnya, Colombia, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Georgia, Iraq, Israel, West Bank, Gaza, Libya, Nigeria, Rwanda, Sudan, Syria, Yemen, and Ukraine. Military standoffs continue between the People's Republic of China, or PRC, and Taiwan, North Korea and South Korea, India and Pakistan, Greece and Turkey concerning Cyprus, India and the PRC in the Himalayas, Iran and the Arab states and Israel, and in other regions. Thus far, the wars we have listed have not involved significant use of artificial intelligence to control weapon systems, analyze intelligence reports, assist in operational decision-making, or plan attacks. That is changing. The war in Ukraine has involved limited use of AI in choreographing drone attacks. Future wars, perhaps emanating from the current military standoffs, will, beyond any doubt, involve significant use of AI, not simply for intelligence analysis and support functions, but throughout every aspect of actual combat. The question we will examine and answer in the upcoming sections is, what will be the full impact of this transformation on the lives, prosperity, and particularly security of Americans? Ultimately, the latter components of the question are the most important, since without security and prosperity, life itself remains uncertain in a world in which, despite elaborate systems of diplomatic, moral, and ethical structures, power rules. And despite those international laws, norms, treaties, humane feelings, promises, and protests, ruling ultimately includes the threat or application of military force. If that is a hard reality for idealists to stomach, they need but refer to the list of wars, or contemplate whether a conflict arising from one of the precarious standoffs will inevitably drag in the United States. Another aspect of power that is linked to force is the control of domestic societies. The United States came into being through the use of force to evict what was perceived as unjust British control of colonial society. Other peoples have taken similar actions. At the same time, most governments hold a monopoly of force within the bounds of their rule, ensuring their continuation, whether justly or unjustly. With AI, it is easier to suppress popular revolts. If the British had AI, would the United States be independent? Authoritarian governments, such as those of the Chinese Communist Party or Putin's Russia, actively combine their monopoly of force with false information, propaganda, and other forms of information warfare to maintain their control of domestic society in the face of potential opposition. AI is already assisting them with the surveillance and information processing that facilitate their control. Moreover, it is assisting in projecting their forms of information warfare into other nations, including our own. Interrelationship of commercial and military AI. Most of the AI systems that are useful for domestic control are similar to those that can be used in modern warfare. Many are developed out of commercial AI applications. The nature of algorithm development is that the same methods used to track your internet shopping choices and, in essence, surveil your decisions to predict your probable future purchases can be used to assess information about your other physical behaviors. When combined with state-controlled video cameras and biometric identification devices, practically every action in a public place, and many in private ones, can be monitored. Privacy and human rights advocates and other critics of AI have already identified this threat. It is a threat with which the U.S. Congress and the legislatures of other democratic nations are grappling. It has become a day-to-day reality in China. What is less publicly recognized is the degree to which commercial domestic security and potential military AI systems are entwined and entangled. Not only can one not exist without the others, but advances in one generally result in advances in all. The AI systems that might eventually control a commercial self-driving car will also control a main battle tank. Your future car might not fire explosive tungsten or depleted uranium shells against an enemy. However, systems designed to target and fire weapons systems without humans actually pulling the trigger already exist, generally as fixed-in-place defensive weapons. When they can be combined with self-driving features now under development, such weapon systems will have high mobility. The U.S. Army has not yet attempted to apply AI to control autonomous battle tanks, but it is already investigating autonomy for lighter combat vehicles. However, the Russian military has attempted to develop AI-controlled battle tanks. In the United States, many believe that we can keep commercial and military development separate through laws and codes of ethics. The U.S. Department of Defense has drafted and emplaced a number of instructions that are intended to guide ethical AI. We will discuss these later. But the fact that others do not want to keep them separate is evident in the next generation of Artificial Intelligence Development Plan of the PRC State Council, released on July 8, 2017, 2 months before Putin's prediction. First, the plan acknowledges the power of AI for domestic control, stating, "Artificial intelligence technology can accurately perceive, forecast, and early warn of threats to infrastructure and social security operation. It is indispensable for the effective maintenance of social stability." Next, the PRC State Council identifies its goals. Promote the formation of multi-element, multi-field, highly efficient AI integration of military and civilian patterns. Strengthen a new generation of AI technology in command and decision, military deduction, defense equipment, strong support, and guide AI in the field of defense technology to civilian applications. The PRC plan obviously does not delineate between commercial and military AI. Instead of civilian AI developments being applied to military operations, military AI development will be the engine that drives commercial AI. This direction of development also facilitates societal control. The members of the PRC State Council, all required to be Chinese Communist Party members in good standing, were possibly contemplating the course of development of the Internet from its creation as a means of communication between defense science laboratories to its present status as an essential civilian utility. More likely, they are affirming that they are committed to the principle that power rules, and that the first requirement is to apply AI to the means of power. It was Mao Zedong who famously said, "Political power comes out of the barrel of a gun." Perhaps afterward, there might be useful commercial applications. The most worrisome and compelling aspects of military AI. There are any number of reasons for the U.S. military to proactively leverage big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning to make its weapons systems more effective. Perhaps the most compelling reason is that our potential adversaries, especially our peer competitors, are aggressively doing so. An old saw is the military adage, "The enemy gets a vote." In this case, Russia is voting with rubles, and China is voting with yuan. These nations are investing heavily in AI technologies. Although the stock valuation of AI companies in the United States is over twice that of China, China pours more government money into AI than the United States, and can decide which commercial companies succeed or fail. This is critical to channeling AI to the military sector and making the development of military AI predominant. Unlike in the United States, Chinese commercial AI developers cannot refuse to provide their programs to the People's Liberation Army, PLA. Whereas AI was seen in the heady days of globalization as a commercial competition to develop profitable products, in the PRC there is no longer the pretense that AI systems' market dominance is the primary goal. The Chinese would indeed like to dominate the civilian market and make money, but AI is primarily seen as a military tool, not solely a business endeavor. Many analysts already accept that through this method, China will soon surpass the United States as the AI superpower. Yet Putin does not want to be far behind. The government-controlled Russian Direct Investment Fund raised $2 billion in 2019 alone from foreign investors. Clearly, the invasion of Ukraine and resulting sanctions have compelled most of these investors to bail out of their commitments. Nevertheless, Russia gained the seed money, which will undoubtedly be buttressed by oil money, and some commercial insights to add to the significant engineering capabilities that remain in their military-industrial complex. Their military-industrial complex is hardly as large as it was in the days of the Soviet Union, when more than 15% of Soviet gross national product went to the military. However, Russia is still capable of producing world-class military technology, as reflected in submarines and air defense systems, albeit in small numbers. AI development is about software rather than hardware, and Russia still retains a core nucleus of expert technologists, including perhaps the best hackers in the world. While Russia and China are making these investments for domestic as well as international reasons, especially to control their own citizens, they are deliberately and methodically inserting AI into their military systems as rapidly as possible to create an asymmetric advantage over the U.S. military. And in moves that may seem counterintuitive given Russia's and China's penchant for secrecy, neither nation has tried to keep these goals secret. Quite frankly, they see themselves in an AI arms race with the West. There have been proposals in Western nations to try to use arms control agreements to stop this AI arms race. As we will discuss in a later chapter, we believe that given the nature of AI, meaningful arms control arrangements are nearly impossible. One cannot count AI like one can count nuclear warheads, or, as during disarmament efforts in the 1920s, battleships. AI isn't a thing. In fact, some technologists describe AI as an ideology. How does one write a treaty that controls ideology? Perhaps declared AI weapons systems can be counted, but how can one ever be certain which systems are controlled by AI? And how can the use of AI in intelligence analysis, command and control, operational decision-making, or war planning be accounted for? It is unclear if U.S. decision-makers fully realize that, by no choice of our own, we are already thrust into an AI race with the authoritarian powers. Given what potential military adversaries are doing, perhaps the United States and its allies have no choice but to go all in with military AI. We will grapple with this dilemma throughout the book. The Voyage Ahead. The book is structured as a rheostat. Each chapter builds on the previous chapter, and the issues examined increase in intensity. By this method, we hope to avoid plunging the listener directly into an examination of war using artificial intelligence without first explaining how and why the development of AI leads to this dangerous probability. The first 3 chapters of the book are about the fundamentals of AI and the surrounding global environment. Chapter 1 is designed to simplify the continuing debate as to what constitutes big data, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. Chapter 2 describes why the convergence of AI with other technologies leads to the development of autonomous systems and explains how these systems will interact with humans. This requires a study of the history of AI development. Chapter 3 probes the motivations of both democratic and authoritarian countries to spur the development of AI and autonomy. This is followed by a deeper examination of how AI is being developed and utilized in Russia and China. The next segment focuses on weaponization and control. Chapter 4 begins the discussion of how AI, combined with other technologies, becomes weaponized. Chapter 5 describes how such weapons are controlled by the method called human-machine teaming. Chapter 6 examines the extent to which autonomous weapons can remain under the control of humans while these systems carry out their missions, including the use of deadly force. Chapter 7 recounts the debate as to whether weaponized AI is a genie fully out of the bottle, or whether the AI arms race that is already occurring can be contained by political or diplomatic efforts. A related examination of how AI and autonomy threaten to change the current laws of war constitutes Chapter 8. Chapter 9 begins the segment that examines how World War III, an AI-assisted or perhaps AI-directed war, would be fought. Given the fact that the nations leading large-scale development of AI see themselves as global powers, such a war is likely to be global in extent. How the war starts, Chapter 9, and ends, Chapter 10, as well as what happens in between, brings us into a world where humans might not have control over these events. Can such a world and such a war be avoided? Will military AI lead to Armageddon? These are the quandaries examined in the final segment. Chapter 11 presents the findings of the book in terms of facts concerning basic AI, military applications of AI, and dangers and critical issues that the people of the United States need to discuss in order to determine the role of AI in our national security. It encourages a national dialogue and provides recommendations that are necessary for the future security of the United States and its allies and partners. A conclusion brings the book to a close. This book is not a protest against AI, nor is it science fiction speculation about how AI will replace human control of the world, for good or for ill. Looking over the facts and possibilities, we do not see AI controlling humans. What we do see is humans using AI to control other humans. We don't want our nation to be controlled by others armed with AI. That concern is the stimulus for this book. 1. What is AI, and why is it important? Just as electricity transformed almost everything 100 years ago, today I actually have a hard time thinking of an industry that I don't think AI will transform in the next several years. Andrew Ng, former chief scientist at Baidu, Chinese equivalent of Google. To begin to understand AI and its evolving impact on our lives, we need to compare it to a much older technology and describe a man who transformed the world. He was the epitome of our image of the heroic inventor, a man of humble origins with a fanatical drive to succeed, a master of difficult technical skill, who tirelessly applied pure genius in the face of multiple discouragements in trying to find an improvement in an emerging technology. Yet his life also exhibited elements we associate with today's celebrity technology capitalists: the showmanship necessary to attract investors, disparagement of his rivals in the social media of his day, frequent patent lawsuits, and net worth estimated in the equivalent of billions. And the ultimate irony, ouster by the board of directors from the public corporation he himself created. He was Thomas Edison. Given his role in its development, it is natural that Edison was asked in 1901 to predict electricity's impact on humanity. 2 decades after the development of the light bulb, he foresaw a general-purpose technology of unlimited possibilities. "Electricity is the field of fields," he said. "It holds the secrets which will reorganize the life of the world." Forecasts based on one's life work are often biased, particularly the life of an inventor-promoter. But Edison was right. In 1 generation, almost every American house, factory, government agency, and enterprise was electrified, and U.S. gross domestic product, considered a comprehensive scorecard of a nation's economic development, more than doubled. It is truly a general-purpose technology. Today, the entire global economy is powered by
Sample complete. Ready to continue?